And welcome to Gordo's Games. It's Gordo here, bringing you some more Digimon TCG content. And today's video is based on my performance yesterday from PPG's regional qualifier, where I ended up taking 12th place overall. I went 5 and 2, and I took MEGAAAAA. So there we go. So I'm going to get into the deck, go through my matchups a little bit, and then just basically talk about the deck, how I came to how it's built, and that. So let's get into it. Alright, so we'll start off with going through the deck first of all. So I play a blue bottom base for it, so we'll go through the Digi-Eggs as the standard. So 4 Demi Vmon and 1 Upamon. I did start off originally with this being 4 Upamon and 1 Demi V, but the main card for the rookies, as you probably know just by looking at Demi V, gets more value out of this, and because of how much memory I give people, there don't tend to be a lot of times where they are left with no Digivolution sources, not very often anyway. So there's the Digi-Eggs. We were on 8 rookies in this, because you do need to get some kind of small poke as you go along. So for some draw power, we run 4 Goblimon. It's also good for playing the mind games with the deck as well, because it's a very unusual deck and you're throwing loads of different things down. If you open with this and the other rookie here, so let's just show them both. So run the Vmon and run the Goblimon. This, for the fact it sticks to the board and they have to deal with it because it's just a pain. The only thing it's killing is an option card from security, or they're going to have to swing into it or block it. And this because it gives me draw power. So if I open this here and then play Goblimon down, naturally your opponent thinks I'm either playing Imperial Dramon or Rookie Rush, one of the two. So it allows me for a different kind of playstyle and puts my opponent in a point of view where they think, oh, I've got to get blockers down or something like this, and they've got to rush to put things down. So I really like the blue base in this for that reason, one of those reasons alone, as well as the options that I'll get into later. So it's 8 rookies there. Let me just sort this out. There we go. Now level 5s. Just see how much we run here. So we run 4 Groundramon. It's a 5 cost, so it's just generally good. Allows us to not just throw down 10 every time, because I don't feel MEGAAAAA throwing down 10 every time is gonna win as much as it wants to. Yeah, sure, it's got the removal, but for instance, one of the bad matchups for this deck is Shine Greymon. And if you give Shine Greymon 10 on repeat, as I found out in the tournament, as I lost the one, and I did that exact thing because I couldn't do anything else, you're kind of letting them establish, and it's kind of speeds up Shine Greymon's late game win to being an early game win against MEGAAAAA. So things like these are a necessity. So 4 of that. This was my own little spice to it all. I run 3 of Duramon. This was 4 originally, but I thought the value of the 5 cost would be a bit more. But this one is quite slept on, because most opponents don't consider this to be a threat. But if you go into a Phoenix and get into your level 7, remove their board, there's been occasions where it's like I've had a Vmon down and raise him. I've got the Phoenix, I've got the Omni on board, and it's stuck to board because they've not been able to remove it. They've got 4 security left, so I will raise up. Now, obviously, as long as nothing hits me from security, any options like that, it has gone to plan like this. So I swing with the Omni, bounce back the Phoenix. I get 2 security checks because of this. Swing again, that's 2 more security checks, and then Vmon for the game. And that's happened a few times just purely because this card isn't paid that much attention to, because obviously it just says security tap +1 when you get to level 7. So I do, and the fact it's 6 cost, I think I rate the card, I really do. And then we run one of Skull Greymon. I consider bumping the Skull Greymons up, but I don't want to be paying 7 and getting no value for it. So this time, when it was in hand, I spent a lot of time just holding it for the right moments, and it did pay off on the odd occasion. So we run 8 level 5s there. Now into the bulky part of the deck. It's the level 6s, the Megas. So we are playing the Ragnarzoo variant. So we run 4 of Bry, because you kind of have to. Run 4 of Duran, because, I mean, generally speaking, if you have the Ragnar kit first hand, you can look to drop the 10 and then go into the Ragnar turn after. It's not the worst turn around, to be honest. So these really do put in some work, and they give you a lot more threat on board, because you technically, for a deck that doesn't have blockers, you then have a blocker that's a level 7. Oh, so yes, it puts them in the line of fire for a Skull Raymond, but you've more than likely got your value from your level 7s, and that's how many times they're swung by this point. We run 3 of Volcanic. I had this at 4 of, but sometimes it wasn't live, so just kind of thought I'd chop it down a little bit. So Volk at 3. We run 2 Machine Drum. This card, I'm 50-50 with it staying in the deck. I like the card, but there weren't enough matchups where it was actually valid. Shine Greymon's a bad matchup. I thought Digivolvent would help a little bit, but it just gives them too much memory to work with, and because I'm giving so much memory away, I'm always memory choked, because they're struggling to spend the memory I give them as it is. So me trying to get 12 didn't come up very often. So this could be dropped out. I'm not too sure what for yet, but I'm going to be looking at things as I go along. So if you have any suggestions, by all means, throw my way. We run 4 of Phoenix because it's the vanilla, it's 10 cost, and we run 2 of Magna. Magna puts some good work against those decks that do early aggression. Obviously, my security generally kills everything that hits it, unless they're red and it's buffed over that DP or they've got jamming. So using this to stack more threats in security was always a good one. I mean, this could just become this. I just then need to weigh up how often am I going to brick a little bit more when going up into the level 6s, because I need to be able to have more black on board as well for the Omni Ultra S, or well actually no, I need more red. No, I could probably get away with that. So that could become this. The Magnus for machines, so we'll see. But in all, we run 2, 6, 8, 11, 15, 19 level 6s. So not as high as other ones, I'd say, because some of them just literally play level 6s and level 6s only. But I feel like you don't get as much out of the deck if you're just throwing down 10 every time. Moving on to the level 7s, obviously we pay 4 Ragnar, just because, you know, he's the main piece. He's your free level 7 basically if you've got the right stuff in hand. Puts in so much work. Some games, I mean, I played against 2cc, and this card did so much work for me. I'll go into why as well. Run 3 OG Omni. I've only got 3, but I think 3 is enough, to be honest. Because the fact you give them so much memory away, they often don't want to go as tall as possible. I often see them going wide, so Ultra S usually comes in a little bit more handy. I mean, unless they figure out the deck's game plan, then they just build and raise in and leave it at that, basically. So that's the level 7 lineup. So we got 7, we got 8, we got 11 level 7s there. And to be honest, I wouldn't change that. It's solid. I consider Millennium one, but I didn't want it to be too clunky because I run more red than black. So that's that. And then options, run 2 Coitus Breath. Honestly, I could do without this card, but because I run the blue bottom half, I kind of needed something that was removable, and the rest of the blues options are kind of tragic for that. I mean, at one point I considered a Borrowed Storm just to get a couple of extra draws, but I thought, okay, if this goes off from security, or maybe I can bounce one on occasions, it's not the worst thing in the world. And so I think 1 or 2 games it did pay off. It was a case of I put something back in hand and they'd have to build all over again, which wasn't the end of the world for me. But then there's other times it's just sitting there as a dead card. But you know, it is what it is. The MVP for me, Kaizenil. This card added so much pressure in a lot of games. So they're the options there. So basically it was against 2cc. So I had Ragnar, and then I had 2 Briar-Luden ones underneath it. So no, it wasn't. It was 2 things. Okay, we'll just go with this example here. So I got the free Ragnar. I got the blocker underneath it and that there. So I swung for my 2 security checks. I survived, lucky enough against 2cc, because there's only 5 cards that can kill me from security with it. Unless 7 Heavens goes off, then an Eden's Javelins goes off straight away. But that's asking for a lot to happen consecutively. So that managed to go my way. So I did that, and then Kaizenil split off. And then I literally had this turn after I got to do the same thing, swing, Kaiser split off, so it allowed me to go wide on the board and allowed for so much more pressure, which was it's just insane value. And it was one of my ways I put in to try and deal with the Shine matchup, because giving too much memory away in those matchups really hurts the deck, to the point of it's pretty much you can't recover from that. So yeah, so I mean the matchups for this deck, green isn't too bad. Red is a 50-50 matchup alongside Shine. If red sees all its pieces, it has a big enough removal to keep me behind, because I'm only going to be playing one or two things at a turn. If I get a rookie and then I play a body on board, if they keep removing that, I'm going to constantly be behind. So red, when it does see it, really can mess the deck up, which did happen because I did lose a round to red on me because of that. Shine, obviously, just purely because if they just sit there, take their time and set up tamers and things like that, while still causing me issues, like Glorious Burst early can cause me problems, because I've just dropped something and they just got rid of it for next to nothing. But the worst thing I do is give them 10 on the first turn. I did it one game against Shine, and their hand was even that great. They used 2 TKs to capitalise on getting better cards in hand, so I'd really set them up for what they needed. So yeah, those are two matchups that are 50-50. 2CC, I hadn't practiced against it, but it was the case of my theory craft was the most optimal. Well, I'd say not most optimal. Most 2CCs only run 4 Gaia Force and a Plasma State, which are the main ones that can deal with my big level 6s and level 7. Otherwise, they'd have to spend 2 cards to get rid of my level 6 or 7s. Unless they run Glorious Burst and then there's 7 cards. But realistically, Glorious Burst isn't the most optimal, purely because you don't get it for cheap in the 2CC, and it doesn't go off from security, so it's just it's high risk, low reward, I think. So yeah, so that matchup was an iffy one, and when I played it, to be honest, it came down to the wire. It literally just the pressure from the Ragnar and splitting off into more things so they couldn't clear my board kept the game going, and actually having the blocker under him as well. That's one of the best reasons for this in the Bryludramon. Just having a blocker in the deck just adds so much pressure, which they can't do. Because like in Imperial Dramon matchups, I had at a point whereas Imperial Dramon was on board, and then literally Ragnar's sitting there with blocker. So you're not getting free. They're not getting free poke with Pale Dramons, and they're not getting free poke with Imperial Dramons. So this just puts in so much work. But sort of matchup. So round 1 I played against Red Omni. Big shout out to Mario Gaming World. I'll leave the link in the description. He was my first opponent. What a top bloke, honestly. I've watched a lot of his videos, obviously, when I started all this, and it was fun to play against him, to be honest. But he had a bit of a rough time bricking in the first game. He had like all his Omnis in hand, so he didn't see the most optimal plays. And then second game, I felt like he still had control of the board again. Played into things like Machine Dramon just to see in certain times the Machine Dramon has value, because I digivolved his Omni in one of the games, and then like he'd already swung to obviously to put himself back restand, so I took him down to level 4 off the back of that, so that was nice. So yeah, I took that 1-2-0. Second round I played against Imperial Dramon. Imperial Dramon is another iffy matchup because my biggest threat is I have big bodies in security. Obviously Imperial Dramon just ignores that. But again, a bit of luck on my side. The person did brick in the first one. It was a case of they hard casted a Frigimon. I had a rookie. I put a rookie down in raising and I had a Vulcan hand, so I was like, okay, there's my value. And then obviously I had Omni, Ultra-S or Omni or Ragnar live the following turn because the Volk was down. Because blue's not, unless blue drops an Omni or anything like that, it's not really going to remove anything unless they run Coitus Breath and stuff. So took that one 2-0. Third round I played against 2CC. That one I went 2-0 as well. That one was a bit more of a grindy match, to be honest. It was just tough all around. The level of recovery was, it was a problem, but at the same time it was kind of beating the deck itself, because they started recovering all of their recovery stuff like the Salamons and Seraphmons, all the things that would help push their game for longer. So all in all, it ended up working in my favour with a bit of the RNG side of it. So that 1-2-0. Round 4 was my first loss. Get my words out. First loss, and that was to Tyler from Gaia Force Gaming. Big shout out to Gaia Force Gaming. Dan, Vang, Tyler, all good people. Although as I say, once again, Guy Force Gaming stopped me from my win streak. They do it every time, but they are great people now. Like I said, Red Omni's a iffy matchup if they see all the pieces, and he saw all the pieces. I don't think there was any point where he was struggling for the things he needed. He got a Phoenix down, went into Omni, got another Phoenix in Raising. He just constantly, the pressure. I hit a Guy Force from security. He Guy Forced me from hand. I think was the thing that added to the help for him is he played MEGAAAAA the previous set, I think he said, and it kind of helped his knowledge because he knew the ways around it. And if you get above 15k in the in like DP wise, you're kind of beaten over my biggest threats. Because I'm basically hoping you just keep swinging, thinking, oh, I'll just keep poking you down if you're going to keep within my board, and all your stuff, even if you go up to level 6, will most likely die. And that's the same for Shine, because obviously if I get enough tamers down, they're out of my threshold. I got no way to get rid of them unless I remove them by hard removal. But they're going to keep removing my board, so that makes it next to impossible. So there is that one. Round 5, I went against another Imperial Dramon. That one I went 2-1. It was a case of the first game I took, I pressured and just removed the board and just basically swung. I had a few V-Mons that punched some graft in. And second game, I misplayed slightly to the point of I thought another blocker would be the way to go to slow him down like Ragnar was doing in the first game. So I played down a Machine Dramon, and I didn't get any value for it because there's no DD evolve on it, but I think I might have done, but they scaled back up and they got an Imperial Dramon, and then they got another Imperial Dramon alongside that, which meant they was attacking like 4 times, so I basically had nothing to do there. So that was probably a misplay on my part. And round 3, I just basically out-aggroed them. My V-Mons putting it away. I think my opponents misplayed slightly because I had security attack +2 on Ragnar. They had 3 security left, and I had 2 V-Mons out. Obviously, they could have just blocked the Ragnar, and I wouldn't have had game. But they let the Ragnar check go through, and then they only had the 1 blocker, so V-Mons just swung for the game. So I think it was a little bit of a misplay on that part there. Round 6, I played against Shine Greymon, and I opened terribly. The worst thing I can do, like I said, was give 10 memory to Shine on repeat, and I think both games it was the case of I could only give 10 on repeat, so it was just not going in my favour there. And I know it wasn't. I've tested that matchup enough, and I know when it's a loss. But my opponent played it well, and you know what? You win some, you lose some at the end of the day. So that was that. And then round 7, I got a bye. My opponent was a no-show, so I ended up finishing 5-2, which left me at 12th place. So I qualified for regionals. Great, happy with that. And I'm happy with the deck overall. It played more or less how I wanted to. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I would have quite happily seen some of my my level 5s a bit more often in some of my games. So maybe the Machine Dramon becomes a couple more level 5s. That's what we're at. We're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We're at 19. So if I drop the Machine Dramons 2 there, bump the level 5s up to 10, that shouldn't do too bad to it. I might test that. I'll do some videos to go along with it. But yeah, that's MEGAAAAA. That is my take on it. And all in all, I think the blue package is the way for it. The Kaiser Nail puts in so much work, but the VMon itself, it's such a pain for people to deal with because they're forced to deal with this annoying little thing that doesn't die. If it gets Gaia Force from security, that's a win. That's more value than this card's ever going to get. But yeah, no, it's just the deck played amazing. And I got a few my whole thing with it was the case of I liked how people react to it, the different ways I can open. Because I was talking to one person after the round, and it's like I said, if I open with the rookies and that you think I'm playing Rookie Rush, if I hard drop a Ground Dramon, you think I'm bricked as a Red Omni player, and if I hard drop a Bri, you think I'm bricked as a Ragnarlord player. So there's so many different ways I can open, and unless you're quick off the bat, you kind of just walk into it thinking, oh, they've bricked, it's not going to be that bad. Obviously I get to capitalise on that, and that's where the value comes into it. So big fan of the deck. 5-2 finish, happy with that. We'll see how it does in the regionals itself, because I most likely will take this or some variant of this, because I might be doing some tweaking or some testing with a different type of it. But yeah, feel free to check it out. I'll leave the link to my games and rounds and that from the tournament at the end of this video. And like I said, big shout out to Mario Game World, big shout out to Doofenberg, who spent a bit of time testing this with me. Ethan off my server as well, some testing, and Josh, another guy, testing with me. So big shout outs to them. And yeah, and obviously and Mick as well. I can't forget you. Yeah, a lot of people helped me test this deck throughout the week, and I'm pretty sure they was getting to the point where they was infuriated by the fact I just kept dropping omnis on them. So I credit some credit due to them for the graft. It is appreciated. And also big shout out to my sponsor Trifinity Custom, as you see by the map. They do custom playmats, custom sleeves, mass phone cases, everything like that. Feel free to check them out. The link will be in the description below. But they do sponsor me in my tournaments, and we do have a sponsored tournament coming up for them on the 2nd of May on my server. So it kicks off at 6 o'clock UK time, Sunday the 2nd of May. It's £5 entry, and top 4 take a custom playmat. It's not a pre-designed mat or anything like that. It will literally be a case of you can design the map with Trifinity Customs. So feel free to get involved. Stop by on the server. The link is just above up here. And yeah, thanks for tuning into Gordo's Games, and let's get digital. Catch you all later.